Okay, hello.
Hi.
Let me get closer. How are you doing?
I am good. You are.
Cool ears.
Yeah, I'm a cat. With you witches.
With you witches.
Purple ears.
This is like your time of year, right? You got Halloween?
Yeah. We did not do Halloween costumes.
No, we didn't.
That's okay, I guess. I told my students on Thursday, I was like, oh, I haven't decided if I'm going to dress up. And they're like, you should at least bring your wand. And I was like, okay.
Wear the ears.
I'll wear the
wand.
ears. Have the wand. That's it.
It's my alter ego, Professor Lynette, which I don't know. Do they call you that? Like Professor Guzman?
Yeah. Professor,
Lynette,
sometimes
whoever.
doctor.
Doctor.
I think most
Ooh.
people call me Professor.
Yeah, I call you Professor.
Everyone calls me Professor.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You are getting over something.
Yeah, it just hit me today.
Yeah.
I know. It's blowing me up right now. That's why I had to get some tea, even though it's mid-evening now.
Yeah, it happens. Fall.
And how are you doing after post-infusion?
Yeah, 3 infusions. They told me I might have more energy. That did not happen, so.
No, it didn't.
I'm kind of like sludging around, doing my
Sludging
best.
around.
It's the Sunday sludge.
Yeah, we had a good live stream yesterday.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Mm-hmm. The
Got
Trace
your
Tonic, Barufios. Oh, yeah,
three-headed
the
dog.
3-headed dog placed in Wizards Unite.
Yeah.
Which we have a 3-headed dog that we just saw in the last chapter.
Yeah, I know.
Of this.
And this is the Halloween chapter.
Mm-hmm.
It's Halloween this week.
It's Halloween.
So despite our costumelessness,
we're on schedule.
yeah, I think we're ready to go. It should be fun. Winston is up right now, wandering around.
Winston's
Probably can't hear him, but we can hear him.
If you can hear clicks, it's
Yeah.
Winnie.
Should we get started?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, well, let's do it. Wand's ready.
Wand's ready.
So turn to page 163, Halloween. Today's lesson is called Putting on a Brave Face. The chapter starts with Harry bringing Ron up to speed on what he believes is being guarded by the 3-headed dog. In the Great Hall, Harry receives a large package that turns out to be a Nimbus 2000 broomstick, sent by Professor McGonagall. Harry practices Quidditch with Oliver Wood and is exhilarated. In Charms class, Hermione attempts to help Ron with his spellcasting. Then after class, Ron belittles Hermione, but she overhears and runs off crying. Her subsequent absence is conspicuous, and the boys learn she has locked herself in a bathroom. They're concerned for her multiplies when Professor Quirrell reports that there is a troll in the dungeon, and Hermione is unaware. Harry and Ron find the troll and lock it in a room, only to discover that Hermione is, of course, inside that room. They confront the troll, and Ron successfully knocks it out with a Wingardium Leviosa. The three are scolded, but Hermione lies for Harry and Ron, and only she is punished, and the trio is united in friendship.
Aww.
Yeah.
Wizards Unite. Yeah.
You know, it never occurred to me how deep into this first story they're not friends until now. It's like we're pretty solidly into the story. Like I was kind of flipping through to find what page it started on.
It's October 31st.
Yeah. It's only, according to
friends.
Harry, it's only been a couple of months at Hogwarts.
Right.
But even still, like in the story, we're 3/4 of the way through, it feels like, and they're just now becoming friends. They've interacted, but just now friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know Hermione is a big deal.
She is. She was who, as I think you realized, I had in mind for the title choice.
Yeah. We are putting on
a brave face. I was trying to spoof around with mask because of Halloween, but I don't think putting on a brave mask is a saying. Putting on a brave face is a saying. It's kind of a mask.
Yeah.
Because it must be hard for her. Like, we don't pay attention to her because she's kind of peripheral. At this point, it's not necessarily clear that she will be the third kind of member. It's kind of like up in the air between Hermione and Neville to some extent. They like often come as a pair. It's quite interesting. I think they're foils for each other because she's like so put together and he's like, what's going on here? I have a frog.
Exactly.
But yeah, she just, she's also new to the wizarding world. She pours herself into it, you know, with reading and stuff. Is this ringing true with you?
No, laughing at Winston, who's like at the socket. I don't know.
He also puts on brave faces.
He's very bored right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about Hermione, like, because so in the moment where Ron makes the comment, he doesn't think that she hears and then kind of brushes it off, but obviously feels bad about it because he didn't want her to hear it. But he's just like, oh, so she must know by now she has no friends. And like,
that's brutal.
Yeah.
But they're also super mean to her earlier in the chapter. Did you catch that?
Which part are you thinking?
They have an exchange to her face, and it's quite brutal. I didn't write down the exact quotes, but at some point, it's when she overhears Harry and Ron talking, I think, to Malfoy about the Nimbus 2000 and how he's allowed to have it, and she's like, oh, I suppose you think that's like it makes your rule breaking okay or whatever,
right.
And they're
a
like
reward for your punishment.
And Harry throws a dagger at her. I forget what he says exactly, but it's mean. They're both super mean to her.
Yeah.
And she just like walks off with her head in the air.
Yeah.
But that is the moment that, despite me not writing down the specific quote, that really sticks out to me. And like, she finally breaks with the no friends because it's so true, right? She doesn't she's not, in the other case, she's like sticking up for her principles of like, you shouldn't have broken these rules. So I don't care that you're making fun of me. Like, I have something to hold on to, but she didn't do anything wrong in the other in the classroom. Not that she did anything wrong in the other place, but she doesn't have anything to like fall back on. She was just like, I'm just trying to help you, and you still are like making fun of me.
Yeah.
And like, you're in my house. Imagine how other people are treating her. She's Muggle-born. She's super smart.
Right. Yeah. She tries really hard, and
she does.
Yeah, that's why I like the progression of the chapter, where, I mean, she's upset, and then, because I feel like it isn't until Harry sees her crying that he's kind of like, oh.
Whoops.
Yeah.
People did this to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when they have the feast, and then Quirrell bursts in, and he's like, troll in the dungeon. And you're like, dude. What? Everyone's screaming. Dumbledore's like, calm down. Prefects just take everyone to their places. And then Harry stops and he's like, Ron, Hermione. And then Ron's like, even though he's pretending, he's like, fine. But he knows, like, no, we have to go.
Ron is interesting in this chapter also. Like, J.K. Rowling does just 2 times where he's like, Ron looked uncomfortable.
Yes.
Ron looked more uncomfortable.
Yeah, she didn't have to write that.
Yeah. Just makes it very clear, but it's still pretty subtle. It's just like one line of like, he's uncomfortable, and then like the feast kind of like distracts them. They don't care anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But then it's like, oh crap, she
yeah.
might die.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, and they're so cute because they're like, we did it. Like, they lock the troll, and then they hear the scream, and they're like, oh no, the worst thing that we could have done. We're trying to help her. And instead we lock it in with her.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that progression too, because like, so I know we've been talking about bravery a lot with, I don't know, I feel like it makes sense though, because we're like so consumed in the Gryffindor house with like these 3. But the way that she writes about Harry, of like, what he did was very brave, but also very stupid. He just like, jumps on the troll.
Right. Yeah.
Accidentally stabs it in the nose with his wand. The classic. That's what I wrote in my notes about like why I liked the 3 of them, even though they like are messy and chaotic and like bug each other, the 3 of them together are fine. Like Harry with his brash, crazy braveness, and then Ron out of nowhere is just like, I got this. Like, I don't know. I wasn't expecting Ron to like just pull out a spell, even though he just pulled out like the last lesson they learned, Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah, I think for the 2 of them, as you're talking, it makes me think like, it makes me wonder, have they ever been in a situation where they would have been able to protect or help somebody? It seems like probably not. I mean, Harry, probably not. And Ron, probably he was the one being kind of guarded, by his elders and older siblings.
Right. Yeah. And then
maybe Ginny.
Well, maybe Ginny. I don't know. She's the only girl. I feel like she's probably like
herself.
Well, yeah. Ginny's a very powerful witch, as we find out later.
Yeah, I love Ginny.
She's probably also very protected as the only girl in the Weasley family with a bunch of brothers. But like, I love how it's the full circle of Ron is able to use the spell correctly, Wingardium Leviosa, because he's paired with Hermione and she's like trying to help him and she's like, you're saying it wrong. Like,
and it's exactly what he was making fun of her about.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Like, and I love the end where Harry is just like, well, Ron's complaining because he's like, oh, we should. McGonagall takes away 5 points from Hermione from Gryffindor and then +5 for each of them. And he's like, we should have gotten more than 10 points. And Harry's like, dude.
Well, yeah.
It's fine. We did this.
I know. But it's always the problem with belittling people who are intelligent in some arena, right? It's like, you're not actually attacking. Ron doesn't attack Hermione as if she's wrong. Like he even like throws it at her and he's like, oh, well, if you're so good, do it. And she does it. And and so there's like this duality there with Ron where he's annoyed at getting help from a girl. Mm-hmm. He should know better. He's like in a wizard family, whatever. Mm-hmm. Combined with, but people generally are annoyed. It's hard to accept help. Combined with, he does kind of take in the lesson. Like, it's this weird thing. Yeah. It always is so peculiar that way. It's like you hate the person for pointing out something that you're doing wrong, but they could be right, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And she is in this case.
So for sure, like, definitely in terms of, we've talked about this in, like, another analysis episode on WizardPhD, but, like, the application of these skills, like they're trying to like float these feathers in the air and then it ends up like Ron pulls it out and like uses it in this massive encounter with a troll. Like I can't imagine any other first years that we've met who could have pulled this off.
Nope.
Like, no, that's probably why all the teachers came in and they're like, what?
What in the world?
How is this possible?
Yeah, not to their dead corpses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. One thing that stuck out to me was there was just a quick line about Harry's like, oh, now that they've mastered the basics. And I'm like, oh, that's not how our school is organized. We do 12 years of the basics, or we keep harping on the basics. And he's like, now it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just something that stuck out to me from the education perspective.
Right.
It's like, oh, wow. Only took you a couple of months on how to hold your wand, and now you're casting some spells.
Well, it definitely...
And they try, right? They're trying even though they're failing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of makes you, I guess, question, like, what are the basics? Like, if you're talking the basics of all of the entirety of magic, like, I don't know. I don't know. Because there are certain things that they don't learn. Like, they don't learn how to make wands or, like, I don't know, do calculations of, like, how does a wand maker figure out how to make a wand? That's, like, something that we do a lot in math of, like, oh, let's learn how to do these things that you're not actually going to do.
When you said calculation, it made me think about, oh my gosh, this sprang into my mind. Some sort of like deteriorating, like diminishing return on a spell based on how far you are from the thing you're casting it on. So it's like if we're like right next to each other and I just like stun you versus if you're like way over at the fence, you know, what is the difference anyway? But they don't study that, right? No, I don't. Magical theory, I guess, you know. Yeah, probably Dumbledore knows. Like, oh no, you need to be closer for that spell to work, you know.
Or maybe it's just like you're naturally everyone has a wizarding level, and you're just better at everything.
Yeah, that's right.
That's just how it works. I don't know.
I know we're level 39 or whatever I am.
39.
Yeah. 38, I think.
I'm 39. Professor.
Yeah, it's a great chapter. I mean, it's on this reread, since we're going so deep into it. It is one of the things that stuck out to me was like, I think I took for granted how Hermione is just so integral to the story. She's such a huge part, but for the first 2/3 to 3/4 of this book, she's not. It's Harry and Ron.
Right.
And she's just another character that kind of comes, she's only in a couple chapters. She comes in this chapter and out on this chapter.
Well, also, because I kept thinking, I mean, now as people who are part of the Statute of Secrecy Task Force, they're like 40 years old. Yeah. And like, just thinking about, oh yeah, how do you think they remember their first like 2 months at Hogwarts? Do you think they remember that, or is that just like forgotten from their memory? Just like, oh yeah, we started
Do they remember the troll fight?
The first memory is the troll fight, but like there was no trio.
Remember when you made fun of me for Wingardium Leviosa? And
I wonder if over dinner, like Hermione just brings that up constantly.
Leviosa.
And Ron's like, I use that to save your life.
Oh yeah, it's the
fight.
five. It's the How I Met Your Mother, the 5 greatest fights. You have to bring them all up. That's definitely one. Your pronunciation of Leviosa is wrong.
Gosh. Except in the book, it's the Gar. Wingardium. You hold out the Gar. In the movie, she does emphasize the.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But the line in the movie is more about the Leviosa than.
It's probably easier to
make it
demonstrate.
Right.
Yeah. I think my favorite, I have a lot of good quotes that I like, but the only one that I wrote down we actually brushed by really fast, which was just Percy was in his element. For some reason I just really like it. I like that. I like that kind of, it's a great flow in the reading of it. Like all this stuff is going on and Percy's like da 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 da, and then just it's a whole new paragraph and it's just the one sentence. I have always found great emphasis used when you're reading a novel and it's a one sentence paragraph. I always like that. Like they can be used so adequately to summarize and like put you in the mindset of who Percy is. It's all it took was like, yes, he's talking, so like you hear him. Percy was in his element.
Right.
Okay, I get this guy. He's like kind of like Hermione in some ways. Yeah. But yeah, by the book, like I got it. Yeah, Yeah.
My favorite quote was towards the end when like they go back to the common room or the houses, I guess the common room, to go eat their feast, and Harry and Ron walk up and everyone's like eating and Hermione's just by the door, and it says there's an embarrassed pause. Then, none of them looking at each other, they all said thanks and hurried off to get plates.
It's super cute.
Just,
it's so 11-year-old. That is exactly what they would do. Right, we're friends now. Okay, bye. Going to bed.
If
that
only
was crazy.
It were so easy.
Yeah. Comes and goes,
Yeah.
Because it seemed like there were other opportunities for them to become friends, but for whatever reason, it felt like Harry and Ron just had their guard up. I don't know. Especially Harry is particularly surprising to me. He doesn't know anyone else. Ron like probably knows people's family and like through his dad's work and all this. Yeah. Yeah, it's just very peculiar.
Well, it's hard. I mean, Harry's also trying to fit in, and he's like latched onto Ron. Like he trusts Ron. Yeah. The Weasley family helped him figure out how to get onto the platform. Like there's a lot that he's putting in. I mean, for good reason. Ron's he's a fine person from a fine family, but like also flawed as humans are. Like, and I think that's also why once Harry realizes like the consequences of their actions on Hermione, he's kind of like, okay, like we gotta pull this back, figure this out.
Yeah, that's why I brought up that other exchange, because I had always, probably from the movie, it imprinted differently. Like I get that Ron said this snide comment, and I remembered that, but I didn't quite remember the other exchange being so fierce. Yeah. It's like middle school drama. Like, damn.
Well, Harry has been kind of, I think he's stressed because like he's been kind of mean.
Quidditch just happened,
Yeah. For like the last couple of chapters. I mean, granted, the other people, it's like Malfoy, which Malfoy kind of deserves, but
yeah. He was kind of mean
been very snarky
in the Midnight Duel. Yeah, he was just like overriding people and like, no, I'm doing this. Because I think he's experiencing a different sense of freedom probably than he's ever had. And like he would never have listened to Hermione to come back in the previous chapter, Midnight Duel.
Right, yeah.
He's like, no, you can't tell me what to do,
Brave and stupid.
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Not to mention that like in that chapter when he broke the other rule with the Quidditch, with the broomstick, he like got rewarded. So he's like, oh, well, I'm untouchable.
Yeah.
The chosen one.
So this is the first, if you happen to be reading this for the first time, you don't know this, but Halloween is a very important date in the wizarding world. So we don't find this out until much later. But actually, Harry's parents were killed by Voldemort on Halloween.
Yes, I did not know that until you told me.
Yeah, so it's on their gravestone. So that's why we don't find this out until much later. And so I was a little disappointed because I went back because I was like, oh, if that's the case, then that means that the very first chapter is like 11 or whatever, 9 years, however many years 9 years, I think, prior. Are we in 1990? 1991, 10 years prior, whatever. So we are at the first chapter of this book is it should be around Halloween. So I went back, and so I actually Googled also on October 31st, 1981, what day of the week was that? It was a Saturday. Unfortunately, the first chapter with Vernon going to work, it's on a Tuesday. So it's actually supposed to be the day after because like Dumbledore and McGonagall and like it had just happened and McGonagall was like, oh, last night supposedly Voldemort went to Godric's Hollow. So
he was working on a Sunday.
If it were like consistent, then that should have been a Sunday. But so I was a little disappointed, but it took me back to the first chapter and also reminding like that was. So October 31st then was the end of the First Wizarding War, right? Which lasted 11 years.
So I think this has been a decade.
Yes.
Because he was a little older than 1 year old, I think.
Yeah. So.
Like one and some change. Yeah.
And then now this is our first introduction to Halloween, officially. Like we'll see more throughout the series, but a troll in the dungeon.
Troll in the dungeon.
And when the three became friends.
Yeah, I just saw you scroll up on something else that came into my mind about Barufio.
Oh, yes.
Which I had never noticed. Chapter. Yes, he is. And he says S's instead of F's.
Wizard Barufio.
Yeah, Barufio's brain elixir.
Okay, can I talk about... I had to look this up because I was
No. I don't know about him. I just noticed from the game.
Okay, so Barufio's brain elixir in Wizards Unite gives you... I went back to the game to see, is there any more detail? It literally just says, gives you double wizarding XP. It doesn't say anything to it. But... yeah, Flitwick is talking so in the book, mispronounced the spell by saying an S instead of an F, ended up with a buffalo on his chest. So I went to search, does anyone know? Is there anything more to this? People were saying I think it's just a general thing that people teachers say, to remember, pronounce your things, otherwise you'll get otherwise you'll get a buffalo on your chest. I thought maybe it was a reference to Old English script of you know how sometimes the long S's or they look like F's.
They look a lot like modern
So
F's.
maybe it wasn't that. But then I found on this wiki page that there's a French translation, which I will not read because I don't know how to speak French. But apparently it's loosely translated as, remember Wizard Barufio, who had a speech impediment and whose wife was left with a buffalo on her shoulders instead of a mink. Apparently that's the French translation.
So maybe in French the word for buffalo
in French, the French words that seem to be mixed up are bison and bison.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure,
however you say
Great.
that,
wow.
French
Deep research.
And so the idea was that the translator was thinking of Barufio had a wife. She wanted a minx little shawl or something. I don't know, some kind of fur thing. And so he tried to conjure it and instead mispronounced it and came up with a buffalo. And I don't know what happened to her, but... But later on, we find out that this Barufio gave his name for Barufio's brain elixir. And because this is actually when I was doing my deep search in, might have been Deathly Hallows. In one of the later books, they're talking about it. And
really?
Yeah. And so I don't remember exactly the chapter, but once we get there in this series, then we can bring it up again.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. 5 years.
Hermione takes it away from them because we think she remembers this thing from class of oh, well, what if it's a scam? I don't know. I feel a lot of potion stuff, there could be a lot of room
is
for
it
scams.
Something studying for finals or something? It's taking a tonic for finals.
It's supposed to be enhancing. Oh, for the OWLs,
she's a prefect
the Ls,
and stuff. Yeah.
And she takes it away from them, and because I could totally see a lot of con artists in the wizarding world. I don't know, you have this magical stuff, and you sell knockoffs and whatever, right. And I don't know. So there's all sorts that I was Wizard Barufio, I need to learn more about you. Is it a speech impediment? Is it the script? Is it the?
I think it's exactly what you're saying, and it has this French colloquialism, and then all this it kind of doesn't translate correctly into an English colloquialism, but so they do buffalo and S's, and so it's close, but it's not the same exact story.
We don't even know what,
because I never understood
Did he speak English?
S
Was
is
it a
an
different?
F.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
that
any
doesn't
sense. Buffalo.
Well, yeah.
I always do that in my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
Buffalo. I didn't
Yeah,
get it.
I don't think it was supposed to be Buffalo.
That's it.
Yeah,
I love
it
that.
was
I
something
love
like
that.
that.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
Where did you find that? Harry Potter Wiki or
yeah, so there, I'll link these. The Harry Potter fandom wiki, and then also looking at the Harry Potter lexicon. But the fandom wiki had the translation, and that's what people were speculating. I mean, I found Reddit threads. People were asking about it, and a lot of people were like, I don't know. I don't think
Where
like,
can I
it's
score
actual.
myself some of this? I got finals coming up.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Do you have anything else?
That's like my main points, was just thinking about the importance of Halloween, Barufios. Those were the little Easter egg type things that I saw.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Probably the last note that we just need to maybe comment on, because I didn't write it in my synopsis. Snape's up to something. Snape.
Well, yeah.
We'll see. I mean,
Snape is always just like lurking.
Yeah, he is. He is. Yeah. It's another thing that stands out to me rereading this first book, and at the pace that we're reading it, like, Snape isn't that big of a character. He's only in a couple chapters.
Chapter, the potions
There's
master.
the moment with the vision and Harry's scar hurts, which seems meaningful, and then potions master, basically. Yeah. And then this thing. Yeah. Quite interesting. Because it's just, that's what you get for such a long series, and reading the beginning, it's of course going to happen slower. It feels like, oh, these are such important characters.
Well, especially from Harry's perspective, like only certain things stand out to us, because there's like glimpses in there throughout the chapter that once you have a different perspective, you're like, oh, hey. But from Harry's perspective, it's not important. He like zeroes in on Snape, and he's like, Snape.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited, though. We're really winding down. And we're going to have to talk about this, but I think we did talk a little bit, and maybe mention on a live stream, thinking about a live stream at the end of the book.
Yeah. End of book 1.
People can join, and we can talk through the book and questions and theories. And we may be able to come up with a theme for to maybe do like an episode, but live, and then do Q&A. Who knows? We'll see.
Definitely.
Something special. But all right, I'm good. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm also good.
Great. All right.
Until next time.
Wands ready.